Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Traveling Showbunnygirl vlog. And in today's episode, let's say, I want to talk about being authentic in showbiz. um, so, one thing is being a performer um, is a lot about being an entrepreneur, and especially if you start later, like I did. If you start very early and maybe you have like a dancing career from a very early age, it might be different, even though I did hear other people say that not necessarily. um it's there is a lot of things that you gotta do alone, and there is a lot of, especially coming late into the game, there is a lot of expectations, not necessarily from other people's perspective, because the industry is what it is and it changes with time, just like everything else. But from someone coming from a different lifestyle into this lifestyle. And that's very interesting because I assume it would be the same thing if I had decided to go into the corporate world. I never had a corporate job, and I'm pretty sure, I would have a lot of wow and insights if I did get into that world as well. But of course, my point of view is the one that I want to share here with you is the one that I have, which is from someone coming from a completely different background into the showbiz, burlesque performance arts industry. And then, yeah, just having myself feeling exposed and confronted almost, let's say, by my own stereotypes and my own expectations of what this life is like, and the struggles that it brings regarding being authentic. Once you get into something, especially I would say, when you come into the game later, you already have a little image of that. It might be because you know someone, it might be because of what you see on TV, right? We all see things on TV about artists and about the starving artist lifestyle, and about how everybody must have, a second or third job, how sometimes, and I even remember during Corona times, how it was always portrayed as if, well, who needs art after all, and so on. And actually, that's my transition period was exactly that. But it was very interesting how only now I've been now doing this for like 3 years, let's say. That's when I'm finally getting to terms with what it is to be authentic after you have smashed every single stereotype that I had in my head before getting into the real thing, if that makes sense. So, yeah, and there is a lot to talk about, but I would like to focus this one video today on being authentic because this was my latest discovery. And the one thing that I would like to share most is that's so important. So important, if especially if you're coming into a if you're not starting, let's say, from zero. If you have someone who is helping you, or if you are given the opportunity to take on a platform where you're gonna have a certain reach already from the very beginning. Um, so if you're going from zero, it's still important, I think, because the one thing that really is very important to know is you will attract exactly what you're putting out there. So if you are putting out there that, okay, I'm here to show everything I've got and steal the spotlight and I don't know, get all of this shit for me because I'm awesome and so on. And finally, I'll get the chance to show everybody. this is probably the kind of people you're going to attract to yourself. If you come from a place where you just carry this stereotype with you. So in my case, I'll be a bit more specific. I'm a big introvert, and I talk about that a lot. And I love it. I love being an introvert. I never say that meaning, oh, that's a flaw or something, that keeps me from doing the stuff that I want. Actually, no. Um, but I remember that my image was like, well, I must be an extrovert or developed a little extrovert that I know I could have in me. At the same time, I will protect all of my real self from people because there is no way people in this industry will accept someone like me. And of course, it turned out to attract the wrong people at times. Not all the time, I'm lucky. um, but it's not until I felt compelled to be really myself that I found my tribe. So being authentic is important because it will attract the right people towards you. It will guide you towards the right direction, and it will just help things fall into place. So you see it, you can follow your gut, and whatever it is that you do, there is space for you if you find the right place. It doesn't matter how niche, how different your art is. I'm sure there is place for it. And if you just show it the way it is, if you just behave with your heart in front instead of trying to behave from a place of what people might expect from you, I'm sure you'll find it. Um, yeah, and how can you do that? Yeah, I don't know actually. My experience is I feel like you cannot hide for that long. In fact, maybe you can do a little, but it will get very exhausting when you just have to every time you're coming to work or every time you have a gig or every time you do anything related to work, you are just pretending. The same goes for skills. I'm not very good at doing stuff with my hands. I can do one thing or the other, but it doesn't bring me that much joy. Now, actually, it's funny I'm saying that because I'm actually with a project. I'm creating two headpieces, but I'm developing that right now. And I thought I had to be. So I remember, like, okay, it's very important that I learn how to sew and that I am crafty. And that led to a lot of frustration and a lot of, I don't know, projects that I didn't like and just made me very tired. So you will know you're not being authentic and true to yourself when you feel yourself drained instead of energized, I would say. But when I just admit that to myself, I'm like, well, I'm not very crafty, I might as well buy it ready. And sometimes you might have to wait. I saw something once that I really, really liked, and I know some people could make it. And at the time, I was like, no, that's a bit too expensive to spend that money on right now. And then I waited, and in the end, I did buy it. It's in production right now, actually. And it's worth it because I know that if I had tried to make it or if I had tried to get a cheap version of it, yeah, I wouldn't be happy. So I can't wait for it to be finished and delivered. And of course, I'll share everywhere. Um, but I just feel so good about it right now. And I know that I wouldn't feel good if I had tried to, push myself to do something. And of course, there will be skills you're going to learn. I was not a very good dancer when I started. I wasn't a dancer at all. And I keep practicing, and I keep becoming a better dancer every day. But that brings me joy. Also, when putting acts together, or when now doing these vlogs, I knew that I wanted to do, but I was deciding today, for example, what did I want to record? Because I want to record more videos. Yesterday, I had so much fun recording the latest video. Um, and I know this is something I want to do. I want to share what is in here with the world, because I feel like I have so much love to share and so many things that if I had heard before, they could have helped me as well. So, just to share the love out there. And it's bringing me so much joy. And I kept thinking, and it's always this thing of balancing out. I was like, what is it that people might want to hear? It's like, well, what is it that I want to say? And I always get more joy on thinking, what is it that I want to say? I hope that in the future I'll get like maybe comments or people saying things like, oh, can you talk about this? And then I'll have this inspiration. But for now, it's just me. So I'm like, yeah, what am I going to talk about? And it's a vlog. So I can actually talk about anything. And and I had this conversation. I saw a friend just a couple of days ago, and we had this conversation. And I feel like down the road now, about 3 years, that's the most authentic I've ever been, um, in everything. And it's a feeling of feeling comfortable in your own skin. It's holding. It's a place of being, if you know what I mean. It's not something that I feel like I have to be doing all the time. I just feel like being, trusting processes, which is something I talk a lot about. Which, by the way, I will do a video on that. Trust the process. Um, yeah. So be it a vlog or be it like, oh, I'm giving you a piece of advice on something, I find that being authentic will bring you the best results in whatever you do. I'm pretty sure. Um, Also, it will keep the wrong people away from you, because people have people are different. People are very different. And some people, they will just match, your energy, and some people won't. There is a lot of people, they're out for the spotlight, actually, and just that. And I had the feel of these people, you know passing by. But it turns out that while I was still wondering what I was all about, then it was more, I don't know, it was almost as if my energy bubble was open, and I would allow these things and these people to come in, because, well, I don't I didn't even know the answer. And as soon as and the more I focus on who I am, what I am about, what is important to me, and I create the environment around me and the community and the bubble, and that I put out there what I am about, the more I attract the people who will match my energy, and the more I will repel, let's say, the people who don't have the same energy. And really free of judgment. There is a lot of people out there, of course, again, with this mindset of the starving artist, can never make money doing this. There is the people out there all about the money. Oh yeah, no, but I should be paid for that. I should be paid for that. There is the people who are all about, um, a little. Sometimes I feel it might. I don't mean that in a bad way, but more about the surface level of things. So it's almost as if it's just an outlet. I like to go deeper. So I was just thinking today, I teach these, kind of a little workshop, kind of a bachelorette party for women, mostly. Sometimes we have men, but it's usually it's the bride's maid, like the maid of honor, I think it's called. She books, like a couple of hours, and then she comes with the bride. The bride is always surprised. It's always so cute. And then we have a program, like we have an apero, which is, like having snacks. I'm like, sometimes I forget it's a Swiss word, which is like having champagne and snacks. I talk a bit about history of burlesque, and then they get dressed. So they change into like this cute corsets and those little shorts and tights, to look very pin-up, kind of like. And then we dance. Then I teach them a short, choreography with a little bit of striptease. And I think we got a request, someone asking, like, oh, can we do less history and more dancing? And and then I thought, well, maybe, sometimes we could just ditch the history. It's like, no, no, no way, no way. Because my vision, it's important to me. I feel like I respond to two entities, of course, I have my clients, I have a business, and my business is all about the fun. Of course, I deliver on that. But at the same time, I don't come from nowhere. There is the whole history of burlesque and strippers and dancers. There is so much that happened before and people who were crucial so that I can do what I do today. And I respect it a lot. So I'm responsible for these two things, for keeping up the history and honoring where we come from, but delivering on the fun. So of course, I'm willing to maybe, do that a little shorter and give, if you're just gonna do that once and never again in your life, I still would like you, if you come to my place, it's important to me that you're gonna leave having learned a few facts about the type of art you're about to experience. Because I think striptease is art. So it's important for me. And and that's very interesting because I think that 2 years ago, a year ago, maybe even, I would have just jumped the wagon like, oh, okay, so I think people don't want history. Let's just ditch that and let's just do the fun part. And actually, I find history quite fun, but let's just do, the dance part, and now I'm like, no, no, I'll stick to my guns, and that's a very nice place to be, and that's a place I wish for everybody to be. That's about listening to my gut, is still taking in, from other places. Um, Being authentic is also not what I thought when I started, which was to have these huge walls. Like, no, nobody comes through, or no making exceptions. It's also not the other way around. It's like everybody does whatever they want. It's a very nice place in between where you're a person, so you're open to listening because, we all have stuff to learn. But at the same time, you don't just forget who you are for to please someone else who might not even know what they're talking about. Or, I don't know, for whatever reason it is. But it's about doing both. So, for example, in this case, my decision will be to, yeah, sure, we can make it a little shorter. I can just, state a few facts, but we're not ditching this part. That's very important to me. So, yeah, that's the place that I got to, and I love it. And that's it. So, well, if you got to this moment in the video, I see it's like almost 20 minutes and you want to write a comment on what authenticity is for you or anything you would like me to talk about eventually, I would love that. So thank you very much for watching. See you soon.